my favorite quote.
Oh.
Very good. Call 911.
Go time. Rolling dough with a good grind, and I run out with a bouton. That's a relay race with a bouquet. They say, K, you gon' marry mine. Yeah. Okay.
They killed my friend. So I'm gonna kill each and every one of them. And the only disappointment is that I only get to do it once.
Die from last y'all. Die from last y'all. Die from last y'all.
So I went to go see Equalizer 2 in IMAX. Of course, this being Denzel Washington's very first sequel. Kind of odd that it took him this long to make his very first sequel, but at the same time, I understand why he chose to do this for his first sequel. So anyways, Denzel does return once again when his former colleague and best friend is killed. So now he's out for revenge on those who killed her. And well, basically that's the story to the movie, or that's all I'm gonna say, because if you watch the movie, there is more to that. I think that the first Equalizer movie is pretty mediocre, and I think it's my least favorite movie that I've seen from director Anton Fuqua. I was surprised when they got Denzel back for another movie, because again, I'm not a huge fan of the first movie, so I wasn't really expecting all that much from this movie, but I did watch the trailers, and I did end up liking the trailers. So then I was slightly convinced that this would be the case of a movie being better than the sequel, and for a lot of people that's not the case with this movie, but for me it was the case. I'm not a huge fan of the first Equalizer movie. I mean, I don't hate the first movie, but personally I just have so many problems aside from the fact that that movie felt like it was 3 hours long. I remember being in the theater for the very first Equalizer movie, and that thing went on forever. It felt like a very long movie when in general it wasn't that long of a movie. But Equalizer 2 I found that had more stakes than the first movie had, since here in this movie it feels like his character is going through so much, and I think that that's something that was kind of missing from Denzel's character in the first movie. Denzel Washington, once again, I thought did a striking job. And another action movie, which I think his very last movie was another movie that was directed by Antoine Fuqua, The Magnificent Seven. I thought that was a very good movie, and he was fantastic in that movie. And while I wouldn't say that he was as good in this movie as he was in that movie, I would say that this is still a pretty good performance by Denzel Washington, especially by a man who is, I don't exactly know how old this guy is, but he still has some really good moves for an action star, and he really does shine when it comes to the action scenes in this movie, which I think were showcased perfectly, especially with Denzel on the spotlight. No matter how much I think that this movie does improve upon the first movie, I don't think this movie is flawless. I do think this movie does have its flaws. Obviously, it does have some problems, which I'm gonna get into because, of course, I'm honest and I'm giving you guys my honest opinion on this movie. The editing and, well, rather the structure for this movie was a mess. And at first, I was kind of blaming it on the editing, because the editing did feel choppy, because it did feel like it went from one scene to another scene, and the editing wasn't working for me. But then I realized that it's not just the editing, it's the structure of the movie. The movie wasn't perfectly structured, and I just started to have a problem with it, especially after an hour into the movie. The structure wasn't getting any better. So both the editing and the structure are two of the major problems that I did have with this movie. I thought the story to this movie was actually fine, even though it's literally the same exact revenge story that we have seen done many times before. Therefore, it does make the movie pretty predictable, except for this one certain twist in the movie that I did not see coming at all. So I was actually shocked that they did a really good job at not revealing it in both the marketing and along the way while the movie was building up. So I thought that even though this movie is predictable, there is that one twist that I did not see coming. The action here is outstanding. Antoine Fuqua, the director of this movie, has a very good past record when it comes to the action in his movies. Of course, the very first Equalizer movie, Aside from Denzel Washington, one of the redeeming qualities of that movie was the action. And he always does a great job directing his action. Take a look at another movie he directed just 2 years ago, The Magnificent Seven, another Denzel Washington movie. Aside from that actually being a really good movie, the action there was, it was amazing. And here, I would say that the action, even though the movie isn't, obviously, this movie isn't as good as Magnificent Seven, I would say it definitely does reach the level of how good the action was in that movie. I thought the action here was really good. It really does meet your expectations for the violence that you're going to get in a R-rated movie, because this movie really does take advantage of its R rating, and everything is violent and bloody and gory. And that's what I love about Antoine Fuqua. He never he doesn't give any shits. He does decide to go past the boundaries sometimes when it comes to his violence. So I thought that doing that, especially for a movie like Equalizer 2, was really a really good movie just in general. And while I'm speaking about the action, those last 30 minutes of this movie, I'm just gonna say it, they are straight up really good. I thought it was the best part of the movie, the last 30 minutes. They were actually kind of awesome. So I appreciate what Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington were able to work with in this movie. And I would go a tad lower if it weren't for those 30 minutes. So just for those last 30 minutes, I'm going to go a little bit more higher on my score for this movie. I do think that this is a movie that you go on a matinee and you'll be fine. And I'm going to give The Equalizer 2 a B-. Again, this is not a must experience in IMAX, but I do think that you should probably see this movie in probably the theater with the loudest sound system that you can, because it really does work for those action scenes, of course, that are already perfectly displayed on the movie itself. Might as well just throw in some great surround sound into the mix. So yeah, Equalizer 2, have you guys seen it? What did you guys think about it? Tell me in the comment section down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.